If you are new here, my name is Randa Carrabba. I am the founder and CEO at PowHer.Fit. It's an online women's full body strength training macro counting program built on food freedom, sustainable fitness. We have affiliates, we have empowerment coaches, we have paid back over $800,000 to our community in terms of fitness challenges, paying our coaches and our affiliates. So we love to reward women who really take hold and change their lives for the better in terms of building muscle. Muscle is the organ of longevity, and so we love adding more life, more strength, adding to versus having our clients think of what they need to lose. Okay, so that's really the perspective and the ideology of PowHer.Fit. So that is what I do, but then also last year I transitioned into really stepping out in a leadership position in front of my coaches to help them with their social strategy. Then I started teaching and educating other online business owners, and the way that I teach all of my business education, it comes down to two things: business strategy and then inner belief system and wealth mindset. And you know what? Wealth mindset and abundance internally is actually 75% of the equation, to where the actual social strategy and online business strategy is only 25% of it. So this is major, major, major. So before I had PowHer.Fit, I actually had a lifestyle boutique brand that was in business for about 12 years, had a lot of success there, pivoted into fitness, and now I'm not only stepping out in front of my fitness brand as an educator for other business owners, but also to really help my coaches level up their own message that they're sharing with the world and their own marketing, and honestly, the impact and the income and the influence that they're having on their small groups, okay? So everything that I do is built on small group community, so that you always feel like you don't, like at least you have the option that you don't have to learn everything by yourself, do behavior changes all by yourself, but you're always supported around other women. That is not like just a me to you setting or a trainer to coach down to you setting, but that way you're really learning alongside like a similar group of other students and other women like you, learning at the same pace with the same goal in mind. Okay, so let's dive on into the most transformative prayer that I've ever prayed over my life and my business. And I have prayed this every day since March of 2012. If you're on with us live, you can go ahead and comment the word wealth, and I'll send you my free wealth identity workshop, or you can comment the word podcast, and I'll send you this entire podcast episode when it's live. The most transformative prayer I have ever prayed over my life, my business, since March of 2012, okay? This is the prayer of Jabez, I don't know, how do you say it? Jabez or Jabez? I used to say Jabez, but it seems like a lot of people online say Jabez. The woman who actually introduced me to it, she was a mentor of mine in the retail industry. She actually said Jabez as well. So whether it's Jabez or Jabez, I don't really know, but we're going to go over the prayer of Jabez and how important and powerful and transformative it is. And if you want to find a very transformative prayer to be speaking over your life, this would be the one, okay? So it's from 1 Corinthians 4:10. It says, "Oh, that you would bless me and enlarge my territory. Let your hand be with me and keep me from harm, so that I will be free from pain." Okay, so there are four powerful parts to this prayer. The very first one is this prayer is from Jabez, and his name actually means pain, because whenever he was born, his mom went through such a traumatic and painful childbirth experience that she named him after that, and so his name actually meant pain. So he was actually more honorable than his brothers. He was the most honorable of his family, and he wanted to live an honorable and a righteous life. And I don't know how many of you are out there that want to live honorably and righteous in the name of the Lord, but I want to live like that myself, and I want to lead like that, and I want to influence like that as well, okay? So the first part, dear God, that you would bless him indeed. The most powerful part of this prayer is that you see it is okay to pray for yourself. So whenever I say this prayer, I say, "Dear Lord, I pray that you would bless me indeed." And when I'm saying, "Dear Lord, I pray that you would bless me indeed," the indeed is basically saying times infinity, or putting infinity exclamation points after it. In Bible terms, this means bless me and bless me a lot. And I think sometimes there are people who feel guilty for asking for blessings for themselves. But I love that the prayer of Jabez starts off with, "Dear Lord, that you would bless me indeed," okay? So that's the first part of the prayer. The second part of the prayer is that God would enlarge his territory. And I have been really speaking this prayer over my Digital Profit Queens in our $20,000 in 20-day challenge. But I ask that God would enlarge their borders, expand our territories, Bring in the people that we are to serve and to influence and to learn from and to do business with. Bring those people to me. Help open the opportunities that God has for me. Connect me with the right people so that I can have a positive influence for kingdom's sake, okay? But also, I have the intention of this prayer, praying that my heart will be expanded and overflowed, because the more that my heart is overflowed and expanded and full of abundance, then I'm able to spill over in the way that I serve others. And I don't know if you realize this, but a lot of people that want to grow their business, it actually comes down to serving more people, more services rendered. So the more that you yourself as a leader can get in an abundant state where you have more to spill over and serve onto others, that is actually typically the growth you're wanting to see within your business, but it starts within yourself, okay? So I want to do business with those that God intends me to, and I want to serve the clients that God intends for me. That's why asking God to continue to grow and enlarge my territory and expand my borders is so, so powerful. Okay, so now let's dive into the third part of the prayer. That God, Jabez said, he prayed that God's hand might be with him in all that he does. Dear Lord, I ask that you guide me in every step I walk, because I want to walk the paths that you have prepared for me. I don't want to be alone, because I need the Lord's guidance and strength, okay? While I'm the leader of my worldly businesses, let me tell you, God is the ultimate leader, and he is the leader of me. So whatever expansion I have ever wanted in my companies has to first come within me, growing and expanding myself into a more honorable and righteous version through the Lord, okay? Now, that God would keep him from evil, harm, and free from pain. But keep in mind, Jabez, or Jabez, however you say it, his name actually means pain because of the painful childbirth that his mother experienced, okay? So he's asking that he will keep him from evil, the evil of sin and the evil designs of his enemies. Keep the enemy's lies away. When the enemy tells you you're not good enough, that's not well enough, you're going to be judged, you're going to fail, and is speaking all this like nasty fear within you, that is where we're asking for God to bless us and protect us and be with us from that, okay? So I declare that I am under God's protection, and I trust that he will protect me from the enemies of the devil. And this allows me to show up, to continue to grow and expand into a more righteous and honorable version of myself, as well as a more profound and confident leader, as well as a more abundant leader who is able to spill over with my abundance into serving others, okay? So this prayer changed my life because I started praying it every day in March of 2012 when one of my previous business mentors mentioned this prayer to me. I had never heard of this prayer. It's actually probably not one of the most popular prayers in the Bible. I don't think Jabez is nearly as known as God's disciples or a lot of other people in the Bible, but this prayer is so powerful. And so let's go back to March of 2012. February of 2012, I had just gotten the keys to my brand new store. I'd gone from this little 900 square foot building with a little like Morgan building separate, that together both of them cost me $650 a month in rent, okay? Now it was a little bit on the outskirts of town, and I had outgrown it. I was doing around $400,000 in sales a year at this given point, and I was at that location for a year and a half. So then I was moving into a big retail location with also a separate warehouse facility behind it, so they're like connected but separate. Okay, and altogether it was like 3,600 square foot, and collectively my rent was going to be around $6,000 before insurance, before bills. So I went to like 10 times my expenses, okay? Plus I had to sign a 5-year lease versus previously I was on a 1-year lease. I did not have like an investor. I was a young single woman in my young 20s. I believe I was 22 when I got the keys to this store. So whenever I went to market with one of my business mentors, that she's a godly woman, she's a wonderful wife and mama, and she had stepped into a really big role into her own business within this previous year. And she shared with me how God really brought this person into her life that helped kind of create all this to happen for her. And she was telling me about the prayer of Jabez. And we were at market together in March 2012 while I was going through all of the construction of my new store. And let me tell you, I went from, that first day of business, I believe we did like $4,800 in sales just on day one. But then day two, it was the first ever $0 day I did, ever, since having a little storefront or a kiosk in the mall. So God was like showing me what was capable, but also keeping me humble with like the second day being $0 in sales. You want to talk about the true test of like growing into the version of us that God, places these desires on our hearts, and we want the desire, we want the outcome, we want the achievement, but typically we have to grow into that person first That was the ultimate. But then that was the year of the fringe bikini. That was the year of us joining the SEC. That was the year of Johnny Football. My business went off the charts in this one product alone that I could not find anywhere at any market, but it was pinned all over Pinterest. And I so bravely and boldly went overseas. Well, I didn't travel overseas, but I found a manufacturer overseas, wired like $10,000 to them. It took about 65 days to receive a shipment in with customs and literally had to come over on a boat. And I sold so many hundreds of thousands of dollars of this one product alone that the one small loan that I had taken out for my sign out front, because I believe my sign was like $15,000 a loan, I paid off that loan that summer alone. So I was like opening in this new season of business with no debt, just within a couple months. And so I'm not saying it's because of this prayer. You know, sometimes it's like when you get a new bat for softball or baseball and you think all of a sudden you can hit better because you have the new bat, or if you get new cleats or new running shoes and you think, or lifting shoes, and you think you can perform better because you're better equipped. Maybe it's a little bit of psychological thing, but I have said this prayer over myself, my business, and now my family every single day since 2012. And I would love to end this podcast with the prayer of Jabez once again. But I also want to remind you that it is wonderful to be a woman of wealth. It is wonderful to be a woman who steps into her wealthy era. And I see there are so many women who think that wealth is evil or bad, or we're too scared to step into that, or we think people will judge us or view us differently or expect differently from us. And I love to teach wealth mindset from a biblical abundance. And I'm actually going to share in my next podcast. I did a little survey last week. I showed a land purchase that my husband and I had made, and I said, okay, let's say that I gifted you $500,000. If I gift you this $500,000, how you respond to this gift of $500,000 actually says a lot about your wealth mindset and your money relationship. And I gave 8 options because each poll on a page could only be 4. So I tried my best to put these into these 8 options, 2 different story polls. And I cannot wait to break down what the most popular answers were. Some of them actually kind of break my heart. But also I want to share it in such a profound way that the way that you view money or wealth or receiving such gifts or blessings can actually say a lot about if you're holding yourself back from blessings. And remember, the prayer of Jabez, however you say it, it starts off with, "Dear Lord, I pray that you would bless me indeed." So I ask blessings over my life, and when I say the word indeed, it is like times infinity or adding infinity exclamation points at the end in Bible terminology. Okay? So if you love that and you want to hear more, you'll definitely want to comment the word podcast below. Stay tuned to my podcast channel. You can comment the word wealth below and get the free training of my wealth identity and biblical abundance workshop. So without further ado, let's go ahead and end this. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I was so excited to share today the most transformative prayer that I have truly ever prayed over my life every single day since March of 2012. And if you're watching this now, this is June of 2024. So over 12 years I've said this prayer. Now I pray it every night over my son. I pray it together with my husband before we go to bed. And I would love to end this in a prayer with you. Dear Lord, I ask that you continue to bless me indeed. Please continue to bless every single listener, every single follower, every single student and client. Please bless them indeed, and know that it is good and wonderful and okay, and that they should pray for their own blessings. And not only for their own blessings, but blessings indeed, okay? I ask that you continue to grow and enlarge my territory. Please continue to expand their borders. Bring us the right opportunities, connect us with the right people, allow us to serve in a way that expands your kingdom, and also expand the territories of our hearts. Because if we're keeping our hearts pure and you at the center of all that we do, then any achievement, any wealth that we accolade here in the world is actually for your will, because you are the provider of all things good, of all things wealth, okay? Then I ask that you keep your hands in all that I do. Please keep your hands in all that every single one of these listeners does, because we don't want to go alone. We need the strength and the righteousness from you. We need the guidance from you. We don't want to be alone. We want to live and follow in a way that you lead out for us. But sometimes as leaders of our own businesses or our own families, we want to make sure that we're following leadership from above by you. And dear Lord, I ask that you keep us free from evil, harm, and pain, because Jabez actually prayed to be freed from his own name. His name meant pain, and he wanted to be free from evil of sin, from evil of the enemy's lies, from all the evil that the enemy tried to speak to him, to twist within his own mind and mindset, because, dear Lord, having a righteous and free and wealthy mindset that lives in the gratitude and the abundance and the honorableness of you is wonderful. And I ask that you protect me from all schemes of the enemy and the devil. In your precious holy name I pray. Amen.